favorite, Dr. Faith Abraham. And unfortunately, it did not allow me to name or label this live. And I actually love to do that, but it's okay. We're going to get into a series. And the series is all about, well, let me tell you this story. I want to tell you something that actually happened. There was a friend of mine who was talking about how he does deliverance and he does healing and things of that nature. And he had a client that came to him. And so this client came. She said that she has not been well. She's not herself. And she knows she's not herself. Her family knows that she's not herself. And she's literally having like this tremendous, overwhelming amount of strength coming out of her. When she is, they're telling her to calm down and she's pushing people out of the way. She's knocking things over. And, she's like in the moment, it's, she's just kind of blacking out. And then after the fact, she's like, well, how did I do that? And what kind of strength did I get to do this? And her family is just like, dude, I don't know what's going on, but whatever's going on, we need to figure out something immediately. So they get some help. It's my friend and his team. And they're just kind of describing some different things. Turns out, she had been friends. She had befriended some people who were into some stuff. She's a believer, but she didn't really, she didn't have certain beliefs. She didn't have certain convictions. Let me say that again. She didn't have certain beliefs and she didn't have certain convictions that would allow her to not be in a position that she was currently in at the time of me telling you this story. So he's like, okay, because he's trying to figure out, okay, what is going on? Where was the door open? Where was the hedge broken for this? Now what we are realizing, possession to take place. Now, I know that opens up a can of worms. Some people will say, oh, if you're a believer, you can't be possessed. We'll leave that one. If you're a believer, you can't have sickness in your body or be in need of healing. We'll leave that one. If you're a believer, then you shouldn't deal with poverty and debt and things of that nature. You shouldn't be dealing with pornography. I don't want them to flag this video. If you're a believer, you shouldn't. There's things you shouldn't be dealing with. There's things that shouldn't be happening. There's things that but here's the truth. Here's the truth. The truth is we are all living on this earth that is flawed. And when you don't know the principles of the word, you don't know the principles of the kingdom that you belong to, you will be susceptible to rule, to overtaking from those that operate in a completely different kingdom, that operate from a completely different system. Hello, somebody. So what you have to understand is, yes, you are a believer. You are of the kingdom in the spirit. But when you are on the earth, you have to know and abide by certain principles, certain universal laws that govern the earth, even as a believer. And as you abide by those principles, there are things that are promised to you in the kingdom, but now you have to put forth the effort for it to show up in the physical realm. Please don't tell me I'm going too fast. Y'all let me know if this is making sense. Thanks for coming on. Good evening, good evening, good evening. Welcome. It's our Bible study time. I still haven't locked in on a name for a Bible study. I would love to call it Good Success. Good success being from Joshua 1:8, but I know that that word brings up so much stuff within people. People literally start, it's an exorcism when it comes to that word. because most people don't know good success from Joshua 1:8. They know success in terms of the world. So this series that we are walking into in what was displayed through my friend's testimony of having to deal with this young lady and her family and her possession is beliefs. One of the things that he was trying to do in that situation, and one of the things that I want to highlight is our beliefs, that the things that we are choosing to believe and the things that we don't realize that we believe is why our lives are what they are, or why we have the results that we have in our life, is why we are, I say, suffering unnecessarily. Hello, somebody. And it's very, very important for us to understand and come to the realization that, hey, there is some suffering that is biblical. We will have to suffer for the name of Christ, but there's suffering that we are suffering. Many people are suffering that is unnecessary. And within this series, one of the things that I really would like for us to talk about, just because of the different messages that I get, the DMs that I get, the conversations that I have, in Women's Success Circle, our word for the year is flourish. We are set forth to flourish. That's why I wear this sweatshirt. Those are some of the conversations that are coming up in private, having things happen in our lives, having these different experiences in our lives. And it's like a pattern. It's a cycle. It keeps happening. It keeps coming up. No matter how much time passes, it's almost like, and we feel like, oh, well, I did that already. Why am I still experiencing that? I went through that already. Why is that still happening? Or how come I keep choosing the same type of partner? How come I keep choosing the same type of girl? How come I keep choosing the same type of guy? Why do I keep having these type of relationships? These are the type of things that we don't understand, but yet I can tell you through the word why you are having the type of results that you are having. I can also help you see it through psychology. I can help you through neurology and the way our brain is wired. But ultimately, through this series, I want us to look at our beliefs and realize that our belief system, what we believe in for real, what we actually believe, is what determines the type of life that we have. Part of the reason why that young lady suffered the ways that she did, and yes, she did eventually get free, but part of the reason why that stuff was able to happen to her was because she was a Christian, she was a believer, but her belief was that because she's a believer, nothing can touch her. So she could do things and dabble with things and tap into things and, try things out, and there wouldn't be any consequence. There wouldn't be any repercussions. But that's just not true, guys. It's not true. Like I started out with saying, there is the ways of the kingdom in the spirit realm. There's things, birthrights, things that are promised to us, things that are given to us, the ways of the Lord that have been bestowed upon us because we are believers. And that is who we are in the spirit realm. But now in the physical realm, we have to put forth the effort to see that which we are in the spirit in the physical. And how do we know? Because I can give you a number of examples. And this is one of the things that I end up sharing with a lot of my clients who, come to me for healing and deliverance and soul healing and counseling and things of that nature, especially the spiritual counseling, is I'm figuring out, what are your beliefs? What do you truly believe? What is on the inside of you? Because we have this thing where we mentally ascend to a certain thought or a certain belief. But when push comes to shove, that's not what we really believe. For example, when women say, and you'll see them on social media, And it happens all the time. Oh, these men are no good. These men are dogs. You can't find a good man if you wanted to. All the good men are married. All of that conversation, all of that talking, and all of that going back and forth and posting in the comment section. Guess what? That's what you truly believe. Because if I now had a seat with you and we started to talk, I would find out that you want to be married. I would find out that you know that you want to find a good man. You're keeping your eyes open for a good man. You've looked through your friends list to see if you have friend zoned anybody that would be a good man, that could be a good husband to you. That's what you say. So that's what you mentally ascend to. But what you truly believe is what you had typed out without even thinking about it on social media, about your true sentiments and how you really feel about men. The same goes for women as well, right? Let's talk about it. Let's be honest with ourselves. Let's really truly be honest. And it's difficult to do because we want to feel like, yes, I believe that I'm going to get married. I'm going to have a good guy. I'm going to have a good woman. I'm going to have a good family, this and that and the other. And then when we look around, it's like, I believe, but Lord, help my unbelief. Right? And so what I'm doing, what has to be done is we have to be honest with ourselves, and we have to go into a mode of neutral. In your car, you have park, you have reverse, you have neutral, and then you have drive. I like to go into neutral because neutral means you just kind of float. You're not pushing forward, you're not going in reverse, you're just floating until you realize what direction you need to go into. And that could be reverse, that could be reverse, that could be drive if you're in neutral. When you're in neutral, what you're doing is we're tapping into what you truly believe. We're tapping into what your subconscious is holding and actually says about certain things. Now, before I even get into our subconscious, let me just say this. Many of our beliefs are established, and really our subconscious is established between the ages of 0 and 7. Now, some people would say 0 being the time you were born, but I like to go even before that. You're in your mother's womb. The epigenetics, the things, the stressors, the joy, the happiness, all the stuff that your mom is feeling while she is pregnant with you, you are feeling it too, as a person that is sharing the same entity with her. So whatever she's feeling, you are feeling as a baby, an embryo, right? A fetus, okay? All the stages. Now, when you come out, and studies have shown that trauma passes through from mother to child. Stress passes through. So you're sharing the same body. So whatever she's experiencing, those emotions, all that stuff, you're experiencing it too. Now, when you come into the world and you're at 0 to 7, your experiences, the things you've been exposed to, the things that you watch, the socioeconomic status, all of those things are now helping to shape who you become and what your subconscious holds. And from what your subconscious holds and what you've experienced and what you have heard and what you've seen, now you create your belief system. If you have a pen and paper, I encourage you to write this out so that you can see visually what this looks like. So now you have your belief system, and your belief system and your experiences, you're creating your belief system off your experiences. So if there's never enough money, then there's never enough money. And that's how that becomes your perception. And whatever your perception is, that is what you shall have. Out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. As a man thinks in his heart, so he is. So these are all things. So from 0 to 7, you have no say so as far as your life goes. Now keep going, and you're still having these experiences. Keep going. You become an adult. Now you're operating through life with a belief system and a perspective that's creating the life that you're living, and you don't like the life that you're living, and yet you're a believer and you're in the word, and you don't understand why the word hasn't changed your life yet. It's because the word, you haven't allowed the word to get her and enter into your belief system to now reprogram. That's why the Bible says to renew your mind daily with the word of God, so that you will be renewed in your mind, and now the beliefs that you have now begin to show themselves forth in your life. The way you change your life is by changing your belief systems and causing your belief systems to line up with the word. What we end up doing oftentimes is we take the word and want the word to line up with us, with our perception, with our experiences, with what is in our subconscious, with what we have experienced. Well, I know Grandma Eddie was praying for healing and she didn't get healed. So maybe God is not a healer. Contraire, mon frère. As a matter of fact, we can pull that up and we can go straight over to Isaiah 53, right? And Isaiah 53 says, and this is just, and we're going to get into this thing because I'm really stirred at this right now. And I hope you guys are following me. And you have to understand something. If you can get this, you can actually see the hand of God in your life. And if you want to see the hand of God over your life, you have to let his word have the preeminence, be at the forefront, be what rules and guides you. So even if the word says something and you're like, your belief system doesn't align, you don't say, well, I'm not sure about that. No, you don't challenge the word. You challenge your belief. You challenge your perception. You challenge what you think is right, or what you've been told is right, and does this line up with the word? If it doesn't line up with the word, then this belief has got to go. I have got to take this belief off the shelf of who I am and now take the word and replace it. This is how healing comes. And when I'm saying healing, I'm talking about physical. Anyway, let me get into this and I'm going to show you. Isaiah 53. So we're talking about Grandma, and, she was believing God for healing and she didn't get healed. And now she was the one that kept the family together, and she was holding the whole thing down, and everybody's so sad and lost. And that's how we realize that, well, God heals, but maybe he doesn't heal everybody. Maybe healing is not for everybody. Maybe there's certain ones that experience healing. And we've come to that conclusion because we know Grandma loved God, and if God loved Grandma as much as Grandma loved God, then God should have healed her. Are you seeing how we've come to certain conclusions and not looking at whether or not the word actually says that, and what the word says in regards to such circumstances? Well, if God really loved me, then certain people in my life shouldn't have died. That's a belief. That's based off your experience. But is that what the word says? Well, if God was really concerned, then bad things wouldn't happen, evil things wouldn't happen. Is that what the word says? That's what you believe. That's what you think. But is that what the word says? Well, I'm a believer, and even if I'm a believer, and I don't believe in voodoo, and I don't think any of that stuff can work, and I think that stuff is significant. But is that what the word said? What does the word say? The word has to have preeminence over your belief. So, and when we come to Isaiah 53, and it says, but he was wounded. Now, let's be clear. Isaiah is the prophet who one of the prophets that really significantly prophesied and accurately prophesied about Christ, specifically Christ's death, burial, and resurrection, and also what it meant. It wasn't like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna die because I think it's a really cool thing to do, and y'all should note that, right? No, it was, this death is me paying the price of Adam and Eve sinning against God and putting the world at a fallen state, and through me, Christ, being 100% God, 100% man, and taking the sins of the people. I am paying the price. I am shedding the ultimate blood, holy, pure blood that is better than the blood of rams and bulls and goats and birds and all the things that they used in the Old Testament so that they can make atonement for their sins. Christ is the ultimate atonement. And now you are restored back to your proper place in the spirit, despite what Adam and Eve did, and you are in right standing with God. Isaiah was the one that really brought this to light and helped us to see. So in Isaiah 53, verse 5, is saying, but he was wounded for our transgressions. He was bruised for our iniquities. The chastisement for our peace was upon him, and by his stripes we are healed. Now, some would say, oh, we're healed. People say a lot of things. Healed in the sweet by and by when we pass, and so we may not be healed on earth. That healing is in our spirit, not in our physical body. That, just a lot of different things. But when you really study and you look at that word healed in verse 5, that word healed is, and I can go line upon line, precept upon precept. So, but let's just stick here, and in the series we'll come back to this and keep going deeper into it. Okay. So, okay. So 5, that word healed, when we look at it, because I have here the Hebrew Bible. Okay. And it says, our peace was upon him. The servant brings people into right relationship with God and others. This could also indicate that there is a spiritual component to the servant's healing ministry. His stripes, we are healed. The servant is able to heal people metaphorically and physically because he is willing to follow the will of Yahweh, even though it results in his suffering. And we remember that the Bible says that healing is the children's bread. And so people have taken that word healed and minimized it and reduced it. And actually that word healed is very expansive. That word healed is sozo. That means you're healed in your body, you're healed in your soul, you're healed in your spirit, you can be healed in your mental, healed in your emotional, healed in your soul. Okay? Healed in your physical body, healed in your psyche. Because some people, this is what we see as schizophrenia or when people have multiple personalities, they have split personalities. Someone can be healed in their psyche. They can be made whole. When you look it up in the Hebrew word for healed is sozo. And so what you are believing, if you believe that that word healed is only for certain people, then you are right. because you shall have whatsoever you say. As a man thinks in his heart, so he is. What do you think in your heart? Not what you mentally ascend to. See, that's why you got to pay attention. Y'all got to pay attention. Y'all got to stay locked in. If you get distracted because you feel like, oh, she's just talking, she's just saying stuff, I'm going to catch back up. You'll lose me. You'll lose me. You'll get lost in the sauce. You'll get lost in the teaching. You got to stay locked in. Once you're locked in, ain't no switching up. You got to stay locked in so that way you can follow on what we're talking about here, right? Yeah, because if you playing, you're going to miss the whole lesson. You're going to miss the whole thing. How do you change your life? You got to look at what you believe. And I'm here to tell you that if you believe what the word says and don't put limitations on the word, whether it be human limitations or the translation into English, because Hebrew is a very expansive language. You can say one word and it mean a very vast, big variety of things. So you could say healed. You are healed. Talitha kumi, you are healed. And the woman with the issue of blood was not only healed in her body, she stopped bleeding. But also, too, she was restored and went from being bent over to being restored, being healed. Even in her soul, even for all those years, a decade plus, almost 2 decades of having bleeding, constantly bleeding, that the doctors made her worse. The Bible said, Talitha Kumi was the young lady that was on the bed, and he said, get up, right? The woman with the issue of blood who touched the hem of his garment was now revitalized. He said, who touched me? He felt virtue go out of his body. Who touched me? And because of that virtue, she was healed. That healed also extends into her finances, because the Bible says that she has spent everything she had trying to get healed, for the doctors and everything.